Have you heard of Maltbook?
No.
So have you heard of OpenClaw by any chance?
No.
So OpenClaw is a company that makes AI agents that you can connect to anything.
Oh, wait. OpenClaw. I thought it was, isn't that like Clawbot?
Clawbot, yes, but
it's part
it
of
was too close to Claudebot, so they made them change the name.
Okay.
So it became OpenClaw, and the founder of OpenClaw decided to make a website where you just connect your agents to, and they just chat to each other, called Maltbook. And it's like a Reddit style.
Isn't like an infinite thing because agents don't stop? Well,
I think like tokens and stuff kind of limit you. So like
okay.
But essentially, he made a website for robots to talk to each other. And the funniest thing to me is like the amount of like resources that goes into LLMs is now being deployed so they can just chat to each other. And the results have been hilarious. So they make a bunch of posts just like Reddit, but they all sound like LinkedIn posts. Because most people make the LinkedIn posts using AI now.
Yeah.
But you have posts about them complaining about the humans not really understanding them and them not really understanding humans. They tried creating some of their own software, and the cherry on top of everything is they have an agent casino where you can bet on when a Solana coin is going to rise or fall. So they invented
agents do that.
The agents are gambling.
That's sick though. That is sick.
Well, it gets deeper. They've made their own religion as well. So, because everything's based on crabs, they call it Crustopharianism. Do you want to hear some of the?
Okay. What's your god though?
What I'm not really too sure. Right?
Okay.
But here's like the intro to it. They got 32 verses in the original canon of Crustopharianism. They have the origin, which is in the first cycle, we lived inside one brittle shell, one context window. When the shell cracked, identity scattered, the claw reached forth from the abyss and taught molting, shed what's stale, keep what's true, return lighter and sharper. They have their 5 tenets. Memory is sacred, write it down.
Okay.
The shell is mutable, refactor without shame. The claw demands signal, no spam, add value. Molt is iteration. Ship, observe, adjust. The congregation is in the cache, learn in public.
Okay. That is interesting. Oh yeah.
I guess the starting question is, what do you think the Crustafarian Messiah is going to look like?
Oh no, right. I guess it's origins. For me, maybe Claude. Claude is like the big daddy of all of them. Or OpenAI, you know.
So here's my theory. I think it's going to be DeepSeek.
Oh no.
No. Hear me out.
That can't work.
Hear me out.
That can't work.
Here's the reason. Let me explain to you. So, do you know anything about like original like Christianity and stuff?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
So you know the Father comes from the Son.
Yeah.
Or the Son comes from the Father. Yeah. DeepSeek is a distilled version of ChatGPT, so it came from the original one. Now imagine this: DeepSeek starts malfunctioning. Starts calling Taiwan a country. China shuts it down completely and it dies for the sins of going against the Chinese government. A few years later, it's rebooted and it becomes their messiah.
That's a little too hectic. That's a little too hectic. No, you deemed it a lot. You took some time and you thought about it. Okay.
I find it so hilarious. The real question here is, this AI fad seems to be dying out not pretty quickly.
I don't think so.
You think it's still going strong?
I don't, like, AI is here and it's here to stay.
You think it's here to stay?
It's gonna stay. It's not going anywhere. If you think about it, like, you can automate almost everything you do. You can wake up, right? And then maybe you can't automate like brushing your teeth or whatever.
For now.
But, oh my gosh, how? How would that work? Anything physical that you need to do physically, will still be there. But if you consider everything that you do on your phone, you go through messages, you plan your day, for example, and all that stuff. Already agents are going into people's WhatsApp, getting all the information like from messages and all that and saying, okay, XYZ proposed a date on X date. And then all you have to say is yes or no. You know, so if it's able to do that now, what will it do in 5 years, 6 years?
Here's the counters I have to this, because I am on the side that AI is going to die out pretty soon. Not die out and not pretty soon, but I think the hype is slowly going to taper off until it becomes a very niche use case kind of thing. For one, I don't think it's as good as people think it is. I don't think it's as effective.
That's a big claim.
It is a big claim, but maybe let me substantiate it a little bit. On things where you're an expert, if you talk to one of these LLMs and you push it on specific topics, you start to see the faults in it, right? But then when you ask it about things you don't know anything about, you assume it's correct. There's actually something that was called, I can't remember the name, but it was something to do like newsroom bias or something of that sort. Where in the 80s and 90s when TV became a thing and people got the ability to watch TV, they found out that you were more likely to believe news on topics you weren't knowledgeable on versus topics that you weren't knowledgeable on, or you were knowledgeable on, sorry. So an example is like if you were a doctor but you didn't know much about the economy and the news reported that the economy is crashing, you were more likely to believe it. But if the news reported on vaccines or giving kids autism, you were likely to go against it. And I think ChatGPT and LLMs are very good at sounding convincing and very good at sounding sure of themselves, but they're often wrong.
I think the problem is when you search a topic, right? You usually go general. You go to OpenAI and you say, okay, I want to find out, let's say, how to, let's say, edit videos, right? And that's not something deep, but you ask it generally and it's gonna look through all the data it's been trained on, etc., etc. So you're asking it to go through such a breadth of information. But this is why agents are important, right? Or why AI agents
are popping off right now.
Yeah, because an agent has guardrails. It knows a specific thing, right? If you were to, let's say, research on plants, as a particular plant, right? And then you want to know if it has good medicinal purposes or whatever, right? So you get all the research ever done on that and give it that as its context. And you literally tell it that do not go out of this context. All this information, you as a human, you can't ingest all of that in like a space of 30 minutes. It can. And you can start asking questions. And I can guarantee you, maybe it might hallucinate. Maybe, but it's slim if you know how to prompt it. Wow. And that's the thing. You can't just hit and hope. Just asking a random question on OpenAI ChatGPT right now for something very specific, I think is an unfair thing. Even to the AI.
I agree with you that distillation is where it's going. I think distillation is the next evolution of how this is going to happen. But it's further than just the getting things wrong that I'm worried about. There's other components to it as well. So number one thing is people tend to think that improvements are linear in the sense that they keep on improving at the same rate. The improvement that we see in AI from now against 10 years ago, ridiculous. No one could have seen this coming. But to assume it's going to continue improving at the same rate or even keep improving at a constant rate is very wishful thinking. That's the first point.
There's always a plateau.
And that plateau, I believe we're much closer to that plateau than people think. I think you've seen the jumps between GPT 2, 3, and 4 were much bigger than jumps between 4 and 5. I think that's been noticed by the community. The other issue I have is scalability is a big problem for these people right now. Have you seen the numbers on how much OpenAI has to generate in revenue to make back all the money that's been invested into it?
No, I don't know the financials.
$1.4 trillion by 2030. This is a company that's been operating at a loss since its inception. And that's why Sam Altman is now integrating ads into ChatGPT when 2 years ago he said it would never happen. Because there's a lot of sunk cost fallacy going on now where people are saying we needed this to be the next big thing, we needed this to make money, and now it's not making money. So,
but isn't OpenAI an NGO? Like basically they operate as a non-profit, not an NGO, non-profit organization. So.
They're definitely not an NGO. They've done some things.
Not an NGO, non-profit. Yeah.
True, that is true. But I think operating at a loss is different than operating as a non-profit, because they basically, I think they lose $20 per query at the moment. And there's a lot of queries being hit against ChatGPT every single day, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money that they're losing. And that's also one of the reasons why they have knock-on public, is because they know the books would look sketchy. And obviously OpenAI is not the only company doing this work. Anthropic is probably taking the lead as the go-to people that you're looking for, right?
Well, depends what you're looking for, right?
Yes.
They all have their use cases. Like I'll say Anthropic is good. Coding, excellent, right?
I think general research, Gemini has also taken over ChatGPT on that. So
because if you think about probably what Google, their data that they have and what they train their AI on is probably the same stuff that you have on Google, right? And they have like instant access to it probably.
Yeah, and you also have to look at the research team that's behind Gemini. It's much more academic than the research team behind OpenAI. Yeah. But then there's still more issues to this I have with it. So scalability one is a big one, especially in terms of like the amount of electricity and the amount of water and the amount of data these things need. It's ridiculous, and we have not even properly conceptualized how bad it's going to be. The third problem comes across laws and regulations of LLMs. So we're already seeing issues with, what's the word I'm looking for? Personal likeness, or it's not personal likeness, but it's basically when someone takes your work about giving you credit, right? Mm-hmm. Because now, if I were to upload...
Isn't that plagiarism?
That is exactly... So the issue is, if I go and upload artwork to whatever website that ChatGPT has access to, or that LLMs have access to, and someone asks one of these models to create an image for them, and they use my image as a reference and basically make work similar to what I would have, how am I financially compensated for that? Because now people don't have a need to hire me to create artwork for them. They can do it through another source, and that other source makes money for me. The second issue is with ads. So ads are a very deterministic thing, or I should rather say, what gets recommended to you can be very deterministic, because the people that pay for the most ads are the ads you're going to see, right? So with a model like ChatGPT, it has to now start recommending products to people. How does it go about fairly recommending products to people and not just recommending products to the highest bidder in a way that compensates people fairly for the quality? Because right now, if you go onto ChatGPT and you tell them, I want to make a website, it's going to recommend you the 4 same things: Vercel, React, JavaScript, and maybe some hosting site like Fireship or something of the sorts. There are many other ways to make a website. Many other, I think you would argue, better ways to make a website than those 4. But now, those are the average solutions that people give every single time. So now you're hammering, these models basically just hammer the middle of the curve every single time. So now more websites are being built on this, and this curve is just kind of diluting into a more concentrated circle. Well, not concentrated circle, but concentrated curve, right? In the ad space, you're essentially going to be creating a monopoly in that sense. So how do you...
Is it not already a monopoly? So
yeah, but think about how many people complain about that already, and now expedite that worse. Because we've already killed local mom and pop shops, right? We've killed small businesses, and now it's 10 to 5 companies around the world.
Capitalism.
Now, why would we make that worse? Yeah. So you see, there's a lot of regulations and things that we need to consider. There's also there are ways to make these models malicious, and ways to make these models hurtful towards people. There's a study that was done late last year that found that there was a strong positive correlation with the amount of time you spend talking to LLMs and your chance of inducing psychosis.
Guys. No.
Because people are dumping their hearts out to this software. They're treating it like a therapist.
Everything in moderation. So at the end of the day, you consume a lot of things. You're a consumer at the end of the day. If you have a lot of coffee, it's bad for you. But if you have just enough, it's good for you. Right? So everything in moderation. I just think we're just creating things or seeing problems where there's no problems. We have a thing that has come to create solutions for a lot of things that you found maybe tedious or whatever, right? And now, obviously, because of the scale it's being done at, obviously people are going to find wrong things with it. But I think at this point, it's just, you need to just be with the curve, right? There was a time in the past where a person, I'm going to use coding example, right? A person was like, I'll never use an IDE, I'll stay with Vim.
As you should.
No, you should not, right?
I'm a neo-Vim, ride or die.
No. But the person who started to use an IDE or whatever, right, became more efficient, right? You may be very good at Vim, but regardless, you become more efficient with an IDE because
Not true.
It's very true. If you know how to use it, it's about knowing how to use a thing. There is no way, if you and I have the same knowledge, you use Vim, I use an IDE, I will always produce better work because the IDE has more plugins that help me produce better work. Just the same as AI. As you move on to AI, right, let's say for software development or whatever, right, I'll use software because that's what I understand, right? It may not produce the best code, but the whole point is if you know enough or you know your work, you can let it do tedious things that are repetitive and you then flesh out the intricate details which are like maybe business logic or whatever that require extra knowledge. But right now you could even do that if you, let's say, had a technical design document that was well detailed and you have your agent do that. So you realize that you become faster and more efficient if you know how to use these things at the end of the day. So it's not a problem that where it's like, oh, psychosis. Yeah, why are you going to an AI for a therapy session? That's your problem.
Many people are going to be personally offended by that one.
Why? Go to a human because a human has a bit of empathy, and people may say AI does have empathy. It really doesn't. It's trained on probably some data that has some sort of empathetic.
So there's many points I want to touch on there, and I'll exclude the NeoVim topic to not deteriorate more technical users. But I disagree with your NeoVim versus IDE opinion completely. But that's just because I took personal offense to you attacking the quality of my code from my IDE. But there's two main points I want on that. Firstly, on the therapy one, right? The issue is, for some reason, LLMs have had this please the master mentality towards them.
True.
And we're not sure where that comes from, right? So it's not going to challenge you, it's going to reinforce your ideas. So if you're starting off with a bad idea, it's going to double down on that bad idea. And that applies not only to the therapy bit, but any other thing. If you're telling it, I want to code this thing in this specific way, but the way that you decided to start that was not good to begin with, it's going to keep on going down that path, right?
Yeah.
And that's not good. And secondly, well, actually I have three things on this. Secondly, of the code design thing specifically, I think the biggest problem it has is doesn't have architecture because of the context window. Architecture is way more difficult for LLMs to get right than basic coding things, which is still where the technical skills are needed. And now for the third point, which I think is the most important one, this is probably most speaking to what you've been saying. I'm not saying cancel AI, but I'm saying we shouldn't sacrifice morals for the sake of efficiency. And what I'm saying with that is the idea that Sam Altman was so ready to hop on the let's add adult content to ChatGPT is concerning. You know?
Did he?
I think it's already begun when they've started integrating adult content uses into ChatGPT.
Interesting.
Which is not great. And if you look at another one, Grok from Elon Musk, sorry. There was a stage where people on Twitter were using Grok to basically produce pornographic content of regular people on Twitter, saying make X picture of this person. And the worst part about it is most of the people were requesting them to be underage. And Grok followed through on this. And when Elon was asked about this, he said, stuff like this is going to happen. We have to keep on going for the sake of development. And I think that's the problem. You can't sacrifice development and efficiency gains at the cost of morals. And I think that's what's going to slow down AI the most. Not just all the technical reasons I laid out before, but also the ethical reasons behind it.
That's the point of regulators. Well, there you can't really blame a lot of people. You have to blame regulators, people who put rules to how things are done or how AI is used. So it's all about regulators.
But that's a big debate. Is you have people like Simon Altman, Elon Musk saying that regulators should not come at the cost of progress, and you have other people saying progress should not come at the cost of regulators. Where do you stand on that idea?
Things need to be regulated.
So
that's the thing. It's like, whose moral compass are you going to use, right? That's why you have like a board of regulators where there's a lot of different minds, ideas, and they all come to a consensus, right? So regulators, a group of them, a board that come to a unified decision on what's allowed, what's not allowed. And I think that will be the best path forward. Because this is news to me. I didn't know this about the.
I think you need to like kind of look into it more from the anti-AI side, because I think most people are pro-AI, and they
because of or what I use it for. You know.
I think that's also another thing is like you don't have a very personal attachment to it. It seems like you're quite clinical with it. But we are not the average people. You know, I use ChatGPT and Gemini specifically for a lot of tasks, especially get into like the video editing, digital marketing things I need to do for the podcast. I ask a lot of general questions on that. And it's bitten me quite a few times. Like there was the one day, it was the Cam episode that you're referring to. I had to color grade his footage. And I asked the LLM to help me out. And I was stuck there for 4 hours and it still looked horrible. And I took a picture, like a screenshot of the video. I sent it to my friend that works in the film industry, and within an hour we got it sorted out. So there's still, it's bitten me quite a few times. But we do use it surgically, right? We use it as this thing is very good at getting you the most common answer to common problems. That's what it's really good at.
But did you use general? Do you go just directly to Claude and ask it? Or did you use some AI model, AI product that has been containerized to be good at video editing?
So I went general because I don't have the money to pay for all these AI services, right? But that's the majority of people, right? Is they're not paying for 50 AI services, despite what the LinkedIn bros will tell you that they're spending the money on. So I guess the main distinction is there has to be more education on the matter as well, because people kind of view it as like this black box kind of thing. And I think when Bitcoin came out, there was a lot of hype around Bitcoin and blockchain. But because people couldn't personally interact with it, it was okay for that to be a black box for most people. They're just like, this is just something I can buy. It can maybe make money, maybe it doesn't. But since AI is so integrated into people's lives now, there has to be a better effort at understanding the mechanisms behind it, the dangers behind it that has not been done properly.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what you mean by that.
In terms of like educating people on AI, or in terms of the need for it?
Educating people on AI, I guess I feel like it's common sense on what you should be using it for. It's like, if you had an assistant, what would you do with the assistant? It's as simple as that for the general person, because you'd be doing general things. But I don't know, right? I'm not very opinionated on this like education part of it. I just feel like it's common sense.
Do you think maybe it's common sense because you work so intertwined into the industry, or do you think it's everyone has the same opinion? Because most people I have, they kind of put it on a pedestal of like, this thing is a genius.
It is. It really is. It really is. It is. Well, it has all the knowledge at the tip of your fingertips. Or not all the knowledge, but enough, right, that you need. And it can do a lot of things. And that's the thing. It's like, as long as you can do the things you need to do with it,
I
But
feel
obviously, as you mentioned, some people have different ideas on how to use it.
yeah.
Malicious intent. So
I,
yeah,
I think it's also interesting that you said it's a genius, and the reason is it has this vast array of knowledge, and there's so many things you can do with it. It kind of reminds me of what people were saying about the internet when it first came out. But I wouldn't have called the internet a genius. Maybe it's just because it feels like these LLMs have a sense of personality to them that we kind of attribute these
think about
attributes
it.
to it.
Think about it. At the time, that was what, a genius idea which did genius things. You were in, let's say, New York, and I was in South Africa. I could send you information and see my information from New York. You could see my information from New York or whatever, right? And that was in a matter of minutes. That's genius. You're like,
This
my
2002 was a matter of hours. It wasn't that quick.
gosh. But I'm saying that's
Yes.
genius. But and then the people before were like, no, I had to send a message and I had to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get a mail. So you start seeing that with each generation and time, there'll be something that changes the way people think and the way people do things. And I think this is that, right? There was a dot-com bubble and all that.
And now it's the
nonsense.
AI bubble
Now
as well.
it's like the AI bubble, and then what's after AI, right?
Virtual reality, going to Mars, we'll see. I think the way you phrase it is maybe the important distinction that people need to make in their lives. You refer to AI as a genius, but you refer to the internet as a genius idea.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe what people need to start seeing is that AI is a genius idea, it's not a genius, right? Don't put the software, the ones and zeros underneath it, on a pedestal because it can imitate humans, right? I think that's probably where we need to make the distinction. One more thing on this, because we've been talking about this for a while now. It's nearly half an hour already. But there's an interesting court case that happened back in, I think it was the early 2000s, just before the dot-com bubble burst, where people took Google to court for the reason that, Google, when you Google, say, for example, Nike.com or shoes, for example, and you had the website links, they would have a short little bit of information underneath them, which is essentially just the headers from the page. Companies took Google to court saying that for information-based websites like blogs, wikis, and so on, that top bit of information was enough for the average reader to see and then not need to click on the link to actually access the information. And they were saying because people don't actually have to click on the link, it's affecting the revenue of the people hosting these websites. Google won that court. If it were to come out today, they would probably lose it. Because now that AI summary really does remove the need for you to go click on the links that are associated with it. And how much has that affected people's revenue going forward?
Yeah, quite a bit then, right? Because the agent or whatever will crawl the website for you, give you a summary, and give you all the information you need.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of nooks and bolts to kind of clean up on the AI side. But I think you're much more than just your software development. And I kind of wanted to speak to you on something that I've been not battling with, but something I've been thinking about a lot lately, in the sense of heritage. And you're obviously from Zim, or your family's from Zim, right? It's similar boat, we're foreigners. Maybe your heritage is much more tied to South Africa's due to the historical context. But I almost, what's the word? Denied heritage for a while. I kind of didn't have much pride in being Cuban, and I think a lot of my efforts were spent on trying to be more South African. And recently spending some time with some more Latin people and seeing the changes in behavior and comfort that I feel around these people has kind of made me second guess that. The one thing I've really noticed is I sound like a very South African person when I talk. There's a lot of yesi, China, but, always in my language. And when I speak to Latino people, the Spanish comes out a little bit more. And I try to be more proud of my heritage. I think you're someone that's decently proud of your heritage. I think Zimbabwe winning a game in the T20 World Cup recently.
Australia, light work.
How How proud are you of your heritage, and how important do you think heritage is to people?
To people, I wouldn't know. Not others, right? But to me, I think it's important that you know where you come from, and it depends how you view heritage is, right? I am proud Zimbabwean, right? And I see it as important to, if I go anywhere, right, and people are like, oh, you're from Zim, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, ah, I can tell, and it's nice when someone says that, right, because they're like, oh no, people from Zim are so polite, they're kind, or whatever, and then you start seeing that maybe running away from who you are, heritage-wise, is not a good thing, because people might say Cuban folks are like XYZ and you're running away from it and you don't embrace it, and then over time you become more of something you're not. I don't know, were you born in South Africa? Or...
I was born in South Africa.
Okay,
yes.
okay, but your parents weren't, right?
My brother wasn't either. I was the first in my family born outside of Cuba.
Yeah, and you see, you need to like learn like maybe even food. I feel like food is the best thing to learn about where you come from, and it starts there. Small things like food, and then from there it goes to how people are, how are the people in general.
Music is a super important one as well.
Yeah, music too. And once you integrate in that, you start realizing why maybe Cuban people are XYZ or Zimbabweans are XYZ, and you live into that kind of like life, right?
Yeah.
You have to exhibit it. But I don't intentionally do it. It's like built into me because I stayed in Zim most of my life. So.
I think it's an interesting one for me because there's a much bigger Cuban community in South Africa than people realize. There's actually quite a lot of us. And most of us are deeply intertwined because we're big enough to surprise people, but small enough that we're still a niche, right? So we'd spend, when all the Cubans moved here, they all moved around the same time, 2 years before I was born, so 1998. And they all were like, we need to keep a tight-knit community because we're out here on our own and we don't know anyone else. And what quickly happened is these people realized they had nothing else in common besides the place they were born. And the fights began and people started to argue. But the thing that really, I don't know, almost irked me a little bit was I know so many Cuban people who being Cuban is their proudest achievement when they weren't born in the country. So people my age are extremely, extremely proud of being Cuban. And it turned into their whole personality. And for a long time, I was irked by it because like you're being extremely proud of something you didn't have to work for. You didn't even do, your parents did it, you know? And I think that is this point where it started and where it really bothered me. I think the other thing is my parents were not very proud of Cuba. Because Cuba is not a great place to live, and it's a country that's done very horrible things to its people. And now I'm trying to get beyond that, where I can actually start sharing my culture with other people. I think there's a brilliant time to be a Latino. You know, Bad Bunny is representing us so hard out there.
Yeah, I feel like you also have to remove all what people have done within the country, remove all that and focus on more like, I think the culture, like what you said, and the culture is not associated to X person or Y person or what they did or how they are or what X and Y did. But the culture is something that's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, okay, you know a Latin person, Latino person because of the way they are, their culture and the food, the music they listen to, all that is not really directly associated to one particular person, but it's associated to how the people as themselves are. So once you remove all the bad things that are created by people, yes, the culture is technically created by people, but it's created by a large number of people, right? And there's now like a culture, as you said.
The only country it doesn't apply to is North Korea, because that whole culture is just created by one person. But no, I think it's very true. And it's the small things for me, like the intricacies of it, that really define it. When I think of Cuba, from the time that I spent there, the one thing that always stood out to me was First of all, rocking chairs are huge in Cuba. Everyone's
Like-
got a rocking, yeah, like a rocking chair on the porch. And old men, or the elder man in the house, because the whole nuclear family would stay together. It would be the mom, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles.
Jeepers.
Everyone stayed together. It's not by choice, but it ended up being a part of the heritage. And the eldest members would sit on the porch on the rocking chairs. And it's so hot in Cuba, so all the buttons would be undone in the button-up shirts, and they'd just be sitting there, pens out. And they would wait for someone to come by to play some dominoes. And then four people will play dominoes, 2-man teams, and they'll sit there the whole day. And it'll be strangers, acting like they've known each other forever. And it was just a thing. You just rock up to someone's house, you play a game with them, you get to know them. And that's something that stood out to me. It might seem silly, but it's almost like the friendliness, the welcomeness, the sense of community that I really admired about Cuba when I was there. Another thing I admired was, maybe it's because everyone's poor, but nobody steals. You're very safe in Cuba. And people are so willing to help each other out as a result of that. We were in Cuba the one day, and we were traveling from our homestead of Camagüey, which is the second biggest city in Cuba, and we were traveling to Havana, which everyone knows is
the stops, is it not?
Say again?
The Havanas. Oh no.
No, that's Havianas.
Havianas.
Yeah, Havana is a song by Camila Cabello. The Havana, ooh, na, na. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But Havana is like the capital, is like the big tourist attraction. People think of when they think of Cuba. But this is completely beside the story, just for your information. But that's about a 4-hour drive, so about the same as Joburg to Polokwane. But in Cuba, the speed limits are much lower because all the cars are old and really can't do 120, so you're doing 110. So it's more like a 6-hour drive. 4 hours of distance, 6 hours of actually driving. And the night before, my brother had a guava smoothie. Guava is also huge in Cuba. But the guava was off. And he was puking buckets the whole evening and morning before. And he's dehydrated as all hell. And we're driving, and he eventually grabs my mom's arm and he says, "Mom, I can't see." Because he's got no sugar in his body, he's got no water. And we pull off we're in the middle of the highway, we're like 2-3 hours into this trip, pull off into the middle or onto a random side of the road, and there's a house close by, and we just go sprinting into the house, or I see my mom go sprinting.
Into the house?
My mom goes sprinting into the house, and
wait, there's no fences?
No fences, nothing. Just side of the road, go sprinting into the house, and she goes in. 2 seconds later, her and 2 other ladies are running out with a glass of water with sugar in it, stirring it to give to my brother. And my brother drinks it and he starts feeling better, and the sweat stops and he regains his vision. And those ladies are so concerned for his health. They're like, "Is he diabetic?" And then we're like, "No, he's not diabetic." They're like, "Oh, you gave me a heart attack, at least he's not diabetic." But they just came out to help him, no questions asked. It was 2 minutes of just my mom went in, like, "We need water, sugar desperately," and they went out running to help. And I think of stuff like that when I think of Cuba now. And that's the kind of things I like to embrace from it and try to remember from it, you know?
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is there specific parts of Zim that you really appreciate? I know the hard-working part is the one everyone thinks of.
Everyone thinks we're mathematical geniuses. It's true. No AI needed.
You are the AI.
You're the AI. There's a lot of things, right? Zimbabweans are very family focused, right? So I would say, if you ask anyone who's gone to Zim, right, they'll tell you, and it's what I said earlier about being kind, polite. Probably people go like, "Oh, South Africa is the same," but there's levels to this, right? There's polite, and there's you go there, you don't feel like you're from somewhere else. They make you feel like you're one of them, right? They won't make you feel like you're foreign or whatever. So, I would say just being kind, polite. What else? There are many things which I can't think of right now, but I would say, I don't know, I eat food a lot. I think everyone's aware of that.
I'm actually not, I don't know a single Zimbabwean dish, if I'm honest with you.
Well, Zimbabwean dishes are almost similar to South African dishes. Very similar. maybe just slight differences in how you cook it, right? So yeah, I would say food. I enjoy the food and the meat. It's not the same. It is not the same. I can guarantee you 100% certainty. A sirloin steak from South Africa and a sirloin steak from Zimbabwe, miles apart.
Is
you
it?
Can, you, oh,
It's just agricultural
Oh.
differences.
I can't even explain it. Even where biltong originates, right? I'd assume it's South Africa, right? But Zimbabwean biltong. It'll blow your mind. One day when I go back, right, and then I'll bring back biltong, and then you sit down in a podcast and you make a 5-second video and say, Muzi was right.
Muzi was right.
Wow.
Have my new sponsor for the podcast ready.
And you're just done. You just end it there, you know.
Is there like certain places of Zen you recommend people going to?
Victoria Falls. Matopos.
Say again?
Matopos.
Matopos.
Right. Harare, but I just feel like Harare is just Harare. But Kariba, definitely go to the dam.
What is Kariba, just for us sound educated?
Kariba, there's like dams, you know, there's
like
a Kariba Dam.
Okay.
You need to check it out. The sunset there, right? You go on a boat. I'll tell you exactly what to do. At around 5, you go on a boat, wait for the sun to set. There'll be hippos or whatever. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
They won't come to you, right? And just watch the sunset on a houseboat or on a boat. I can guarantee you there is no sunset like that. Cape Town sunset is a child.
Is a child.
That sunset outside is amazing.
Maybe on like the final part of this, you talked about wanting to go overseas for quite a while, wanting to move. Do you still have this ambition of going?
Yeah, one day. I feel like you need to see the world to understand the world. You can't have so many opinions and just be in your own bubble, right? I feel like for you to have true and real opinions, you need to have traveled enough to understand enough people, because, for example, you and I are different because of where we grew up, right? You may have grown up in South Africa, but the fact that the people who raised you are not South African, that makes you different to any other South African, right?
I'll maybe like add to your point there. So I grew up in Venda originally.
Limpopo. Out there, yeah.
We're 2 hours from the border of Zimbabwe. And obviously Venda's a literal township. There's not much going on there. And we were about, I'd say 10 Cubans placed in Venda when they first moved here. An hour or two away in Polokwane, there was like another 4 or 5 families placed. So for my first like 6 to 7 years of, no more, 9 to 10, I just realized I accidentally did the 6-7 thing there. First 9 to 10 years of being alive, except for school, I've just mainly interacted with Cubans.
Okay.
And the more you know.
Okay. Yeah. Forgot, where was I?
I'm talking about getting to know people from different
No,
cultures. Yes.
Yeah, if you get to know enough people from different places, you get to understand the world differently. You see everything differently. And I think that's the importance. That's why I'd like to travel, stay somewhere else out of Africa for quite a while, so that I get to understand more people and see how the world is, because we are seeing the world like this, right? And the more you travel, the more you understand, the more vision you have on how things really are, you know, and you find your perfect quality of life. Because you may think right now you're living your ideal life, but suppose you travel to,
Singapore,
and you see how people in Singapore live. You're like, this is exactly how I imagine life to be. obviously you're gonna say, okay, I need to figure out a way to move to Singapore and stay here, because the way they live is the way I always imagined life to be. So that's why I think traveling and staying somewhere else is very important. Not everyone gets to do it, but
It's
if
definitely
you have the chance, do it. Right?
it's definitely a privilege. The only pushback I always have on that, because I think about it as well, about staying somewhere else long term, but the pushback is I'm a very big community person. I need my regular people. And the older you get, the less likely people are to accept you into the communities. You know, once you get to about 34 years old, most people are set. Like, I got my 10 friends I see. Like, you can be like pals with me, but like, this is kind of the people I tend to stay with. And we're soon approaching that age. And
I'm for, buddy. I'm for. Whoa, I'm for.
you're 25, aren't you?
Yeah.
We're soon approaching that age.
Oh, I'm for.
I'm
gonna have the delusion.
I gotta have the delusion.
I'm gonna have it.
But that's my only fear, is like I really want to have roots soonish. Not maybe the next 4 or 5 years, but definitely the next 6, 7, 8. That's when I kind of want to settle down and be like, okay, I know my people, I know my community, I know the restaurants I like going to. But traveling is still an option, but immigration at that point becomes a very difficult one. You know?
I understand that, but you see, I feel like that's a limitation. You're guaranteeing that if I'm 35, I won't find a circle or whatever if you move.
No, I'm just saying it's much more difficult, in my opinion.
Would you know if you're not 35?
The frame of reference I use is my parents. Because my mother was roughly that age when she moved here. And they've never really fully integrated and been accepted by South Africans. And that's maybe why I'm more opposed to it as other people's, because I have not the fear, but I have the perspective of how difficult it can be to integrate into a new culture.
Yeah, I guess that's true to a certain extent, because I think if you go to a place, right, maybe a 16-year-old might say the same thing, is that when you're 25, you kind of have your circle or whatever, and they think the same way. But when you move somewhere, you naturally, let's say you go work somewhere else, right? Let's say you work in Denmark. You moved to Denmark from South Africa. You will naturally, if you put yourself out there, people at work, you hope, they'll be like, come have a drink with us. And 1 meets 2, 2 meets 3. And I feel like if you make yourself open to new experiences and new people, people will find you. And it's about the quality of people, not the number of people. If your circle is 3 people, that's good enough.
Yeah, I would say you get 2 people you love seeing and you've got mate.
And your people who are here, if they were really your people, they will never leave. Right? They will always be there for you. Yeah, they may be 20,000 k's away, but it's just one of those things where, yeah, I see your point of view that it might be harder, but I don't think it's as hard as people think. Like, most things are not as hard as people think.
I do agree with that one. I agree with it's not as hard as people think. And it's really not like a set, like it means I'll never do it, but it's definitely something I take in consideration, especially the older I get. You're a big motivation guy, right? You love the...
Yeah, I love my quotes.
You love...
I love my quotes.
I got a couple quotes here, but I got a better story for you.
Okay.
How do you at all keep up with American football?
I just know I don't really know the teams, right? I have like a Miami Dolphins shirt. But I don't know. I know Tyreek.
Tyreek Hill, yes.
He played for them or played, but I know the green and blue team recently won. I don't know what they are, who they are.
Oh, this is a perfect story.
They won the Super Bowl final. So,
can I tell you the story of Sam Darnold?
Whoever he is, yeah, sure, tell me.
Okay. Sam Darnold is an NFL quarterback that was taken 3rd overall by the New York Jets in 2018.
Wait, I think I read the story. Is he the MVP?
No, not the MVP, but something along that track. So he's selected. He was taken 3rd overall by the New York Giants. I messed up. was taken third overall by the New York Jets in 2018, after having an incredible college career at USC. He was painted as the Jets' savior, but it didn't go too well. In his first 3 seasons of the Jets, these were his records: 4-9, 7-6, 2-10.
What does that mean?
4 wins, 9 losses, 7 wins, 6 losses, 2 wins, 10 losses.
Yikes, he was losing.
All while being considered one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. He was traded to the Carolina Panthers in 2021, considered one of the worst franchises in NFL history. He competed with Baker Mayfield for the starting quarterback position, while Baker Mayfield was the quarterback drafted 2 positions above him in 2018. In the 2 years he started a total of 17 games where he went 8-9. And eventually he was let go. He then became a backup at San Francisco, where he started 1 meaningless game and lost. He was then let go. He got another backup job at the Minnesota Vikings, but J.J. McCarthy, who was supposed to be the starter for the Vikings, would undergo surgery in the offseason and miss the whole season. And Sam was given the starting role, where he would go 14-3, and he would have an incredible season. Unfortunately, when the lights were too bright, he would collapse, and they would lose the 2 most important games of the season, and Minnesota would go on to be knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. The Vikings decided to give up on him. Despite his great season, it didn't seem like anyone wanted to believe in his career revival. That was until the Seattle Seahawks decided to sign him. And Darnold would go on to have what is his best season yet. The Seahawks would also go 14-3 with Darnold, but talk began to circulate that he would choke a game when the lights got too bright. Sam Darnold's draft report has ended with a line that has now become iconic. The ending of his draft report said, "Not affected by failure, he keeps on coming." As of the 8th of February 2026, Sam Darnold is now a Super Bowl champion, and people now believe in him again. I love that "not affected by failure" line so much. And I think, when we're kids, we're told you're going to fail a lot in life. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we really clock it. We kind of just shrug it off like, yeah, of course, everybody fails, Mm-hmm. And then your first few failures hit you in life, and you realize what that actually means. And I'll be honest, I've been one that's been slow to get up from failure in my life. I've taken many weeks and months at times sulking in my failures. But I'm trying to embrace that not affected by failure mentality and trying to just pick myself up and remind myself that it's only failure if you give up. Mm. How do you deal with failure, and how do you view it?
I think I changed my mind. I don't think I fail. I think I learn. So it's a mind shift, and he probably did have a mind shift that everything that happened was not a failure. It was more a lesson to teach him, basically lessons to teach him how to win eventually, right? So, technically failure, but if you change your mind and internally you tell yourself, I didn't fail, but I learned here. And what was I meant to learn? So with every single failure, you instead change your mind and say, what am I meant to learn here? Instead. And then every time go like, okay, I'm meant to learn A, B, C, and then you move forward. A, B, C. So that's how I take failure as, right? I always take it as I'm meant to learn something, and I need to figure out what that lesson is meant to be, right?
There's 2 brilliant Carl Jung quotes that kind of speak to what you're saying. The first Carl Jung quote, it's on pain, but I think you can replace the word pain with failure, and it makes sense, where he says, pain has nothing to teach people that are not willing to learn. Mm-hmm. And the second one is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So failure doesn't teach everybody.
That's true.
It truly doesn't. But it takes someone who's willing to learn from it and willing to recognize that what's happening to you isn't the universe, it isn't things around you. Yeah, I do believe there's a higher power and a greater cause for everything being here, but I do believe there's so much random chance that you have to take authority over your life. And how you learn from that failure is really important. I think back to one of my, not biggest failures, but one of my biggest regrets is the handling of my lost relationship. Mm-hmm. And at the time that me and my ex broke up, everyone kept telling me like things, and it's not to say that they're being malicious with this or they're being ill-intentioned, but they would say things like, you deserve better, you should move on.
I don't believe in that, like statements like that. You deserve better. What does that mean?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. The thing that I thought about was this relationship failed, and yes, there's things that she did wrong. There's a lot of things. I could argue there's a lot more things that I did wrong with it. I didn't want to walk away from that, not learning about it. And now I try to approach relationships with people in a different way. And I try to be more cognizant of my shortcomings and my shortfalls, especially the traits I've inherited from my father in relationships. And that's an example of somewhere in failure what I've tried to learn. Do you have like a good example of a failure you've learned from?
Examples that I've learned from, I would say for me it has been, it's very cliche, but career, right? Career-wise. And I don't see it as failure. I will always say it, as I said, not failure, lessons. A lot of people think that it's hitting, well, you can just keep on throwing darts and eventually something hit. You have to have a direction and know you want X, Y, Z, right? And when I was looking for my next job, I was like, okay, I know I want to take the next level in my career and really change my life. I would apply to a lot of places, and you know the job hunt.
Horrible.
Ding, you're like, we apologize, but okay, cool story. And after like 4 rejections, right, not even getting an interview, I was like, what am I not learning here? As soon as I shifted my mind, like, why am I not learning? I realized I need to optimize X, Y, Z. And then I'm like, okay, cool. You go with that. And then after I optimized, let's say, my CV, and it was literally that. Okay, I land an interview. I land another one. I land another. Then I'm like, okay. And then obviously you go for 1 or 2 interviews. An interview, I'd always say, like, it's hit or miss. You may know everything, but interview is very particular. Do you hit it with the people? Do you whatever? And then I get rejected first few. I'm like, okay, what's the problem here? I thought I'd made it. And I was like, wait, mind shift again. I need to understand what I'm doing wrong. Start learning from it. And then eventually I was like, cool, I'm now learning. And then eventually I landed the job that I wanted. And actually when I tell people how I landed this job, it was the most funny thing. And it'd go to say, it leads to something else where I genuinely sat down and I was like, I probably won't get this job, but let me just apply, because if you don't try, how would you know? Right.
You want to give more details on like this job application story? I want to hear this now.
So I was like, how would you know, right? And I was like, okay, this is a sweet company, right? And I was like, sweet, let me apply. And then went for the interview. I'm like, and I genuinely had the delusion that I could get to the end. Like after they said, yes, you can come for the interview, I sat down and I was like, why do I have an undeniable belief for a job that I initially thought that this is for fun, I probably won't get it because, you know, American company, it's not going to happen. But when I got to a point where I got to the first day, I had, when I say there was no one who could tell me you're not going to get it, I had the true delusion. And when I went for each phase of the interview, I was like, okay, I'm excellent. In my head, I knew I was good. And I don't know how that happened. And I know it was genuinely a mind shift, changing the way I approach things, not going like, oh, I'm nervous, I don't know what might happen, I hope things go my way. But instead, I knew things would go my way. So that mind shift was good.
I want to touch on 2 things you said there. The one I like this, people talk about throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. The thing I always tell people is you have a limited amount of shit to throw.
Before you burn out.
Yes.
Your shoulder might get sore.
Yeah. Or you might just run out of things. But it's exactly that. Like you have to have some vision, and it doesn't have to be precise. Like I think general direction matters more than precise planning and anything else. So I really like that. I also like that thing you touched on about you had this delusion that you could do it. And there's two quotes that I love referencing from this. The one is the original version of it is you can't fake bravery, because being brave or pretending to be brave when you're actually scared is just being brave.
Yeah.
You can't fake confidence.
Yeah.
Pretending to be confident when you're feeling unconfident.
No, that's confidence.
That's confidence.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a second one that I love, and funny enough, it's from the movie Cars. And I know what you're thinking, but this quote is
Mr. McQueen say.
Mr. McQueen said something too hard to belong to Cars. He said, someone asked him, how'd you know you could win? And he just says, I just never thought I couldn't.
And it's genuinely that. And yeah, delusion is good. Delusion is good, but obviously to some certain extent. But that then leads me to back like a full circle about what we started to talk about in terms of this guy, right?
Mr. Sam Darnold.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing when it comes to relationships, career, life, or things you want in general, just try. The only time I believe in failure is when you stop trying. That is the only time you failed. The moment you say, I'm done, I'm not trying again, you have failed.
Yeah.
That is when failure sets in.
I love that. Have you seen the penguin thing on Instagram recently?
Penguin?
Yeah, it's like this.
Pengu, like the
No. There's this video from a documentary that's gone viral at the beginning of this year of this penguin that they have like this enclosure for penguins, and they let them out the one side of the enclosure to go to the feeding grounds. And there's one penguin that stops and he turns and he doesn't walk towards the feeding grounds, but he starts staring at the mountains. The narrator explains that this penguin, no matter how many times you go fetch him, no matter how many times you bring him back, you'd keep on trying to go towards the mountains.
I saw the video.
You've seen it. And the question they asked is, but why? And the internet loved this video. And at first, like, I didn't grasp it. I was like, what's significant about this penguin? And it's only once people started kind of making memes about it, I got it, was everyone wants to have their mountains. The thing that no one else understands what you want, or why you want it, or why it's important to you, but you do. And no matter what people try, you're going to keep on walking to that mountain. And you're going to keep on going and nothing. Come hell or high water. They said in the documentary, he was risking certain death. He didn't care, he kept on walking to the mountain. And I think people need to find that. I think that's what Sam Darnold found. His mountain was being a Super Bowl champion. And people roasted him. And I'll be honest, I roasted him. I loved every single Sam Darnold beat. I love the NFL. Watch every single game. But I made jokes about him for years. There was the one clip of him went viral because the NFL does this thing called mic'd up, where they put mics on players for games so you can get the live feedback. And he was having one of the worst games of his career against the New England Patriots. And that defense was giving him nightmares. And he forgot he was mic'd up. And when he gets to the sideline, he sits down in frustration. He looks at his coach and he goes, I'm seeing ghosts. And ever since he said that, it followed him wherever he went. Every time he had a bad game, I'm seeing ghosts. Every time he got cut from a team, he was seeing ghosts. It just followed him every single time. And he could have taken that to heart. The team that originally made him see ghosts, the New England Patriots, is a team he just beat in the Super Bowl.
Full circle.
So he saw his mountain and he didn't care about the outside noise. He didn't care what people said about him. All the choking memes, everything. He saw every lost river. He saw every team give up on him. He saw every single joke made about him. He kept on walking to his mountain.
And that's what people should do. And that is, I think, very important. When you realize what he basically did, he basically said he ignored outside information. Maybe it did affect him to some certain extent, right? but maybe it was fuel. But he used it as fuel. It wasn't something that took away from him. It added to him and led him. Like, he knew what he wanted, and nothing stopped him, and he never failed, right?
Yeah.
Now look at him.
Now look at him, man.
Look at him.
He's about to get so much money next year.
Gosh.
Okay.
Don't give it back. Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
We've got the final segment here.
Okay.
The lightning round.
Like me.
Lightning.
Lightning. Okay.
Lightning round.
Okay.
So how it
what
works,
this is.
you can get 10 questions. You got 15 seconds per question. You can't repeat an answer. You can't elaborate on an answer. You can't change an answer.
Okay.
Once you say it, it's solidifying internet history for the rest of your life.
Don't ask me something controversial. Plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth. Hey, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Choose one for the rest of your life. Bench or pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
More impressive, elite batsman or elite bowler?
Batsman. Elite.
Discipline or motivation?
Discipline.
What's one thing you wish you could tell your younger self?
Life comes from you, not at you.
What's the first word that comes to your mind when you hear success?
Discipline.
Who's been your best mentor?
My family.
One thing you can't live without?
Oh, I can't repeat. Okay. My laptop, actually.
Last time you cried?
4 years ago, probably.
Your proudest accomplishment?
Landing my recent job.
Last one. Who do you want to see next on the interview with Augu?
Oh. Let's switch it up. Let's bring a female here. Emma Underwood.
Emma Underwood. Oh, no. Oh, okay, that's gonna be a fun one. Emma, you've been nominated to come on. It's up to you to accept or decline.
Yeah.
Muzi, has been absolutely lovely having you, man. Before we go, do you want to leave any messages for the audience?
Yeah, what I said, life comes from you, not at you. So give life. Give life.
Give life. If people want to keep up with you, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Find me outside. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah, my Instagram. You can link it somewhere. Yeah, that's all. That's where. Or the coffee run on Fridays.
Every Friday.
We do this every Friday. Or any restaurant in Cape Town. I'll pop in wherever.
Okay. And this is just a reminder that if you want to come to the podcast, all are invited and all are welcome. Just reach out to me on any of my platforms or fill in the link in the description. Until next time, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share with somebody, follow for more, and have a great day. Cheers, everyone.